Yeah, Zohran Mamdani's powerful, defiant speech shakes New York City mayoral race. No more shadows. Jalen Brunson, you can do something amazing right now. Yeah, Jalen Brunson, come out. Jalen Brunson, come out and say, you are riding with Zohran. Do it.
6 years ago, shortly after I'd announced I was running for state assembly, a well-meaning Muslim uncle pulled me aside. He smiled softly and looked at me with care. In a quiet voice, he told me I did not have to tell people I was Muslim.
Oh my God, bro. This is literally 1-to-1 the same convo that I had with my grandfather. 1-to-1. I've told you guys this before. My grandfather was like, dude, nobody knows your name is Hassan. If you want, just use Dogan. Your last name already sounds westernized. Piker. Nobody will know any better. Don't ever tell a single person that you're Muslim. What are you, stupid? Either change your name, make it about you. Oh my God! Of course I'm going to use my own personal experience. I've talked about it before. What is wrong with you? What do you mean? What am I supposed to do? He said, go ahead, make it about you. Do you guys not understand how Islamophobia works? Do you not understand how this works? Yeah, it's a commonly shared Muslim experience in the Western world. You've been in here long enough. God damn. I'm validating his experience, saying, oh shit, verbatim happened to me as well, in something that I've talked about in the past.
His eyes kind, his beard proud, and his face heavy with the implications of the unsaid. I had not learned the lesson that he had been taught time and again. It is the lesson that safety could only be found in the shadows of our city. That it is in those shadows alone where Muslims could embrace their full identities. And that if we were to emerge from those shadows,
yeah, this is like
in those shadows
version
that we must leave our faith.
This is the talk version that like black parents have with their kids, but for Muslims, I think this is like hey, maybe I mean, for Zohran it's especially difficult because he's brown too. You know what I mean? Like at least I got the white shield on me, you know, so I could get away with like really being like, I don't know what you're talking about. But I chose not to do that.
These are lessons that so many Muslim New Yorkers have been taught again and again. And over these last few days, these lessons have become the closing messages of Andrew Cuomo, Curtis Sliwa, and Eric Adams. Yesterday, Andrew Cuomo laughed and agreed when a radio host said that I would cheer another 9/11. Yesterday, Eric Adams said that we can't let our city become Europe. He compared me to violent extremists. And he lied again and again when he said that our movement seeks to burn churches and destroy communities. The day before that, Curtis Sliwa slandered me from the debate stage when he claimed that I support global jihad. And every day, Super PAC ads imply that I am a terrorist or mock the way I eat.
Yeah, also, one other thing about the global jihad thing is that it's a double bind, as I've described before. It's the same with like intifada, right? Global jihad or jihad as a term or martyrdom as a term means something very different in Muslim culture and in Arabic in general, right? But jihad in and of itself, in the way that Americans understand it, in the way that Westerners understand it, implies you're going to kill a bunch of non-believers or whatever, right? But Muslims, by and large, do this calculation every time they have to address shit like this. Because jihad means struggle, right? Working out is jihad, right? But describing that to people is going to make you come across as like insincere. A lot of people are just going to look at that and be like, oh, here we go. This guy is just really trying to dupe me into believing this, right? So in many circumstances, people don't even fucking bring it up. Muslims don't even bring this shit up. They don't even choose to address it, and they simply address what people think jihad means, right? There's a reason why it's a common unisex name in the Arab world, but that's it. And the same goes for intifada. Like he chose to once describe that it is the Arabic word for uprising, and that even the Holocaust Museum uses Warsaw Ghetto Intifada, right? So when people say globalize the Intifada, they're simply talking about globalizing an uprising, okay? And it doesn't matter how people perceive it. Like what it actually means having a revolution, committing to a revolution to uplift people, to engage in emancipation for all people. So he explained it once, but people didn't give a shit about it. You just want all Jews to be murdered, and that's what I'm going to go with. So then he had to make this calculation in his mind as a visible Muslim dude to literally drop it, to be like, oh, it was really hurtful to Jewish New Yorkers. That's insincere. I can say it openly, okay? When he says that, that's actually the insincere part. He was being honest initially when he first responded to the globalized, the Intifada narratives. He was right the first time, and then people kept hammering him over and over and over and over again. So we had to just suck it the fuck up. He had to suck it the fuck up because he's running for mayor, and he knows how these narratives can take root and become an issue. I didn't think that he should have done that. I think that like when your opposition is framing things in an insincere manner, you don't have to actually lean into their framework, and he did, and they never stopped. It's not like they stopped. It's not like he actually ended up soothing the collective fears that people had, because those collective fears were not born out of like anything real. Those collective fears were not born out of a sincere belief that he is going to somehow commit harm to Jewish New Yorkers. Those collective fears were born out of racism. If you look at a guy like Zohran Mamdani and you think he is a dangerous anti-Semite that is going to hurt Jewish New Yorkers, you're an irrational racist person, okay? And I don't care how much you believe that genuinely, okay? Because you can genuinely believe something because you're racist. I think a lot of white people in the South that opposed desegregation were sincere. They literally did think that it would be a racialized jungle if the black children were learning alongside white children. That doesn't mean it's a valid concern. Sometimes you got to shut the fuck up. Sometimes you got to tell people, okay, dog, you need to calm down, all right? That's not how this works. You feel me? Just because someone's concerns are coming from a real place doesn't mean that real place is just really racist, all right? Yeah, you're sincere. You're sincerely racist. That's your problem. You gotta work with that, okay? You gotta work on that on your own. As you easily predicted, they moved on to he doesn't condemn globalized intifada.
Polls that ask New Yorkers questions like whether they support invented proposals to make halal food mandatory, or political cartoons that represent my candidacy as an airplane hurtling towards the World Trade Center. But I do not want to use this moment to speak to them any further. I want to use this moment to speak to the Muslims of New York City. I want to speak to the memory of my aunt, who stopped taking the subway after September 11th because she did not feel safe in her hijab. I want to speak to the Muslim who works for our city, whether they teach in our schools or walk the beat for the NYPD, New Yorkers who all make daily sacrifices for the city they call home, only to see their leaders spit in their face. I want to speak to every child who grows up here, marked as the other, who is randomly selected in a way that never quite feels random, who feels that they carry a stain that can never be cleaned. Growing up in the shadow of 9/11, I have known what it means to live with an undercurrent of suspicion in this city. I will always remember the disdain that I faced, the way that my name could immediately become Muhammad, and how I could return to my city only to be asked in a double-mirrored room at the airport if I had any plan on attacking it. And since I was very young, I've also known that I was spared the worst of it. I was never pressured to be an informant, like a classmate of mine. I've never had the word terrorist spray painted on my garage as one of my staff had to endure. My mosque has never been set on fire. To be Muslim in New York is to expect indignity. But indignity does not make us distinct. There are many New Yorkers who face it. It is the tolerance of that indignity that does. Since I announced my candidacy for mayor 1 year ago yesterday, I have sought to be the candidate fighting for every single New Yorker, not simply the Muslim candidate. I've carried these indignities with me Each moment of this race doing so, all the while as the first major Muslim candidate in the history of our city. I thought that if I could...
This is what I mean when I say you just got to eat it. You eat it every fucking day. And this is something that everyone who has experienced some point of marginalization knows exactly what this is, okay? If you're a woman, even if you're a white woman at your workplace, okay, you've been talked down to and you've heard misogynistic statements and you've made that mental calculation of, do I talk about this? Do I bring this up? And if I do bring this up, what will be the reaction? If you're a black person, you've experienced this when people are engaging with you and they say something anti-black. Do I bring this up? Will I be treated as a nuisance if I bring this valid concern up? What will the people around me think? Will they also agree with me? Will they understand my concern as valid and sincere? Or will they agree with the offending party? Is it even better to just keep quiet and eat it in an effort not to look like a spoiler, in an effort not to look like someone who can't get along with everybody else? Do you even want to find out that your coworkers are also in agreement with that? It's a constant state of suspicion that most people are probably not going to agree with you in that moment. Is it worth it? This doesn't mean that, like, white men are evil or something, straight white men are evil or whatever the fuck. That's not what I'm saying at all. But like, it is the one group that often doesn't understand this because it is the one group that does not have any historic association with having to deal with something like this. It just doesn't work. There is no real way. And I say this as a person who is perceived as a straight white guy all the fucking time. Okay, let's be real. There's no intrinsic point of marginalization in that regard. So it's a lot harder, I think, for straight white dudes to kind of understand what this looks like. Because unless you're a gamer or if you're disabled. That's why I'm also forgiving, for the record, as someone who does experience this quite a bit. I am more understanding and more forgiving, given my personal privilege as well in this regard, when straight white men do actually demonstrate the unconscious biases that they might have or engage in microaggressions and whatnot.
Build a campaign of universality. I could define myself as the leader I aspire to be, one representing every New Yorker, no matter their skin color or religion, no matter where they were born. I thought that if I worked hard enough, it would allow me to be that leader. And I thought that if I behaved well enough, or bit my tongue enough in the face of racist, baseless attacks, all while returning back to my central message, it would allow me to be more than just my faith. I was wrong. No amount of redirection is ever enough. In doing this, I have told the wide-eyed young child in Jackson Heights or the first-time voter in Parkchester that they too should remain in the shadows. In many ways, I have become that same uncle who pulled me aside 6 years ago. No more. The dream of every Muslim is simply be treated the same as any other New Yorker. And yet for too long, we have been told to ask for less than that and to be satisfied with whatever little we receive. No more. For as long as we have lived, we have known that no matter what anyone says, there are still certain forms of hate that are acceptable in this city. Islamophobia is not seen as inexcusable. One can incite violence against our mosques and know that condemnation will never come. Elected officials in this city can sell t-shirts calling for my deportation without any fear of accountability. The consequences amidst this inaction are stark. More than 1 million Muslims in this city existing all while being made to feel as if we are guests in our own home. No more. We stand on the precipice of an election, but that is not what today is about. We know that in less than 2 weeks we will say goodbye to a disgraced former governor and our current indicted mayor. The bigger question is whether we are willing to say goodbye to something much larger than either of these two men. It is whether we are willing to say goodbye to anti-Muslim sentiment that has grown so endemic in our city that when we hear it, we know not whether the words were spoken by a Republican or a Democrat. We know only that it was spoken in the language of politics of this city. In an era of ever diminishing bipartisanship, it seems that Islamophobia has emerged as one of the few areas of agreement. And while I appreciate
this is the unfortunate consequence of eating. This is what I was talking about. You eat it for months and months and months, right? And you say enough. You keep presenting me as like a barbaric Muslim that is going to do 9/11, okay? And it's not just about me. It's 1 in 8 New Yorkers that are also Muslim that you're attacking like this. And enough is enough. And immediately motherfuckers go, wow, what is he trying to be the mayor of all Muslims, dude? This is what I was talking about. This is why you fucking eat it, okay? You're like, do I just keep my head down and let this continue? And if I'm keeping my head down and letting this continue, what kind of harm is that bringing upon people like myself, people from the same background? That's the double bind that you're always in. If you ever address shitty behavior from others, okay, if you ever address your own marginalization, if you ever address the experience that you have, there are always going to be people that go, the fuck, dude? Why are you bringing this up? You're really fucking up the vibes. You know, this was a joyful candidacy. Like it doesn't feel good is my point. This is also part of the reason why I spent the last 2 hours explaining my own personal experience with this stuff as a person who is the recipient of it for the last 2 years, with all of my fucking colleagues standing idly by and not even letting out a peep, okay? Not even once letting out a fucking peep for a position that I maintained, a position that is now the majority position, a position that colleagues of mine that were silent about out of fear that they would be yelled at, that they now can openly declare they're in support of. Not once did a single motherfucker turn around and go, Twitch or terrorist? That seems like a little crazy that you just have a bunch of Arab Muslim content creators and you're comparing them to terrorists. This doesn't seem like a fun game. This seems pretty fucking racist, as a matter of fact. And not a single fucking person spoke out on it. And to this day, they do not. And they never will. And I just ate it every fucking day, knowing full well that if you bring it up and you say, hey, this is kind of fucked up, they'll make a larger conversation about it. Other content creators have called for my deportation, consistently called me a fucking terrorist, laughed about it like it's fucking jokes. Not a fucking peep from anybody. This is how racist attitudes continue to thrive. And at a certain point, you got to stand up for yourself. So I'm proud that Zohran's doing this. Because if you don't do it, everyone's going to think it's totally fine. 26% of adults, like, look. Oh my God. 26% of adults in the New York City metro area identify as religiously unaffiliated. Call them bigots, idiots, and publicly and publicize your politics. Otherwise, you're playing into identity politics. Also, don't insult me. I insulted nobody. Brother, that's the problem. You don't think that this is insulting. No one should be able to stand up for themselves after constantly being on the receiving end of racialized attacks over and over again. Do you not understand? I mean, you don't. Clearly, you don't understand it. Address the issue. Address the argument. Should a Muslim candidate say, hey, 1 out of 8 New Yorkers is Muslim? We're getting a little out of hand with this Islamophobic line of attack, don't you think? Because, like, if Zohran was Jewish, okay, let's use that as an example. Zohran is running for mayor of New York. Let's say he's not Zohran, he's a Jewish guy running for mayor of New York. And they keep saying like, oh, here we go again. Jews control the media. Jews control politics. Here we go again with Jewish degeneracy. He has his tentacles in everything. And he came out and was like, yo, we got to stop with this fucking anti-Semitism. Like, there are a lot of Jewish New Yorkers who feel unsafe. Everybody would fucking understand what's going on there. Not everything is Paul, is what I'm saying. Sometimes it's all right to just like take a back seat and be like, okay, maybe there is a valid concern here. The problem is, and I'm sure Zohran knows this very well, as do I, from my own personal experiences, the moment that you do stand up for yourself, a lot of people do check out. A lot of people check out. So you just kind of have to eat it. So what do? Like, especially in the field of politics, like I'm sure maybe I'm far too cynical on this, but I feel like in this circumstance, you don't address it and you keep going, but then all of that unsafe attitude remains and it manifests and it festers, right? And people think it's appropriate that they can get away with it without any sort of social pressure or social pushback. But then you win by a wider margin, but you do address it and you win by a smaller margin. But hopefully some people who like you understand that this is inappropriate and they also join in on fighting back. And then we'll continue.
All who have rushed to my defense over these past few days. I think of those Muslims in this city who do not have the luxury of being the Democratic nominee, who do not have the luxury of being deemed worthy of solidarity. While my opponents in this race have brought hatred to the forefront, this is just a glimpse of what so many have to endure every day across this city. And while it would be easy for us to say that this is not who we are as a city, we know the truth. This is who we have allowed ourselves to become. And a question lies before each of us. Will we continue to accept a narrow definition of what it means to be a New Yorker that makes smaller every day the number of those guaranteed a life of dignity? Will we remain in the shadows, or will we together step into the light? There are 12 days remaining until Election Day. I will be a Muslim man in New York City each of those 12 days and every day that follows after that. I will not change who I am, how I eat, or the faith that I am proud to call my own. But there is one thing that I will change. I will no longer look for myself in the shadows. I will find myself in the light. Thank you very much.
Like, the funniest part about all this is that, like, white supremacy is a fairly universal experience, a universal institution. So, like, Andrew Cuomo isn't just shitting on Muslims in general, even though he's been hitting that line pretty hard. He's been shitting on black and brown people in the process as well. Like, that fucking ad that he dropped was so psychotic, bro, with the AI Idris Elba. Like, that was insane. He's like, well, you know how these black people are. They love stealing from grocery stores while wearing a keffiyeh and a mask. Like, that was so unhinged. That wasn't just like Andrew Cuomo. If we were being real, okay, he needed to apologize to basically every minority group for that ad, for that AI ad. It's psychotic. Yeah, he shit on every group in that, bro. He shit on every fucking group. He shit on white ladies too.
Breaking news: House Minority Leader.
He said white ladies love drinking and driving. White grandmothers. Cuomo's response to the speech. Just spoke to Cuomo by phone. Here's his response. I think Mamdani has created great fear among the Jewish community and many other communities. He's affirmatively offensive. It has nothing to do with his being Muslim. It has to do with what he says. Oh my God, how many times have I fucking heard that? Weren't you just talking about how the U.S. doesn't have Euro-style racism and now this happens? No, this is the reason why it's not working is because the broader New York audience, the broader New York population, the broader New Yorker base of voters don't harbor that same level of resentment in the ways that that Europeans have. That's the reason why it's not working. But we can't even get this motherfucker to look past it or apologize for it, you know? In the wake of this, no one will suggest that a Muslim-hating candidate like Cuomo is a threat to the well-being of Muslim New Yorkers. No one will consider their fears about him becoming mayor. No one will claim that his views on Gaza violate the sensitivities of Arabs and Muslims. Or anyone with a fucking conscience, really. Because remember, I said this yesterday, and obviously this is an issue that's a little personal for me as well, because, you know, I've been the recipient of this kind of dog shit nonstop, including, but not limited to this. XQC almost passes out laughing at Aiden Ross calling us on a terrorist and ban him and deport him. 155,000 views. How many hype points can you get? Like, these are my coworkers, dog. The fuck? And not a single person at any point is like, hey, that's kind of weird, you know? Don't you feel like that's a little insensitive? Like, maybe we should dial it back a little bit. Nope. Anyway, fucking lunacy, but that doesn't matter. The point I was making with Zohran, especially as like the Jewish fears being used as a weapon to get away with saying whatever kind of fucking Islamophobic shit that you want to say about a visibly Muslim candidate is so tired and so racist. Because, like, it's just, I said this on the debate night where I said, bro, this New York Jews are terrified of the Muslim mayor who has the majority opinion on Israel's genocide shit is so goddamn tired and frankly racist. Because remember, what is getting lost in this conversation is that we're having this moment, and what has Zohran said or done? Oh, he has the majority opinion, the majority New Yorkers' opinion on Israel. How is that any different than any average fucking New Yorker that you encounter? This is exactly what they did during the primaries, and it fucking failed. Are we for real? It's fucking bullshit.